Matthew 11, verse 28 to 30, Jesus says, "Come to me, those who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Now, we have been talking this past few days about this idea of rest, but it's not just the rest that we're thinking about, because oftentimes when we think about rest, we think about sleep. Sleep is for our body, but rest is for our soul. And that's why so many of us can either struggle with sleep or great at sleeping, but at the end of the day, that does not guarantee our rest. But what Jesus is offering, what his promise is standing for, is for us to be able to enter into a rest, a place, a state of being where we can finally find peace, where we can finally find a place where we belong, where we can finally be who God created us to be all along. And it was hard to hear this because we are living in a society so driven by performance, that our worth is proven by our work, and this is how the work validates value, and yet that's not how God values us. And Jesus gave this invitation then, and it still stands today, that if we will come to him, that he becomes our rest. And when we come to him and we learn to take his yoke upon us. And I just want to talk about this a little bit. I think it's so fascinating. I talked about it a little bit yesterday, but I was just thinking about it today as I was going through it. God offers us rest, and yet he wants us to take his yoke. Isn't that work? And that was the struggle that I was wrestling with today. And what if the rest that God gives comes with a very specific work? Now, I know that sounds like religion, that sounds counterintuitive, but there's something else that was highlighted to me today that I just wanted to share with you. What kind of work brings you into rest? And the book of John chapter 6, verse 29, Jesus said it like this: "This is the work of God, that you believe in him whom he has sent." And in John 15, verse 4, Jesus says, "Abide in me. Apart from me, you can do nothing." So there's this aspect of believing and abiding, that is the work, that is the putting on the yoke that Jesus was referring to put on faith, because faith is already a part of who we are now as new creations, because faith is a part of our new feature. It's not something that we strive after. Faith begins to arise in us. It begins to awaken in us as we continue to seek the Word of God and come into agreement with the Word of God and begin to live out the lifestyle of obedience, not because we have to, not because we're obligated to, but because as children of God, the DNA of obedience already lives in us, because Jesus lived the perfect obedience. So when he died on the cross, he took on our rebellion. He took on everything that we did wrong. He took on our sickness. He took on our imperfection. He took on everything. And in exchange, there was a yoke exchange on the cross. And he gave us his obedience. He gave us his holiness. He gave us his acceptance. He gave us perfect love that cast out all fear. And I don't know about you, but that brings me to become so passionate about living this new life. That is what he's offering us. And he's saying, "Learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart." Now, Jesus is the only one who can say something like that and actually mean it. And I feel like that's what he's bringing us into today. You know that his yoke is light and his burden is easy. And as we begin to step into it, it doesn't mean that it is weightless. No. There is some weight, because the weight is for us to learn. But however, when we begin to take upon him and learn from him, we become more and more like him, because the DNA of him is already living in us. God bless you.